In this video, I'm going to go through exactly how to make a squad, but not just a regular squad. I'm going to make a multilingual squad with 3 separate languages. Now, most people, you're probably wondering, who is this random guy? My name is John. I've worked with over 50 different companies in a multitude of different industries, helping them from real estate to tree companies to franchise consultants and many more industries. So I'm going to go through this and show you exactly how to do it all. But also, we're also dropping our free school community. So you can see it right here. We have a couple hundred people in there and we're just looking to grow. We provide so much value of different things that most people don't actually provide. So this is like all of our different snapshots, our blueprints, all that different information that we can't actually share on YouTube. Join in. So I'm going to give you the actual breakdown of how to build out these squad agents. So the first step is really just going to be building the initial squad agent and kind of separating it to kind of figure out, hey, this is what this squad's going to do, this is what this squad agent's going to do, and vice versa. So I'm going to start out, and usually what I like to do if it's an inbound squad agent is I have it transferred to the correct person. So let's say, for example, we're building a multilingual squad. We're going to start out by creating an assistant. I'll do this really simple, and this is the initial assistant. So we're going to want to add more prompting in here, but I'm just going to go through the basics of building this. So the initial one, it'll say like, hey, this is John. Do you speak English, Spanish, or French, for example? And this will kind of decipher which person the squad agent's going to be transferred to. So we can add in the prompting, figure out what language the user speaks. So this will be the initial one, and the initial one is essentially figuring out the initial language of the user and then transferring them to the correct agent that's associated with that language. So for example, if we're doing a franchise bot, I can use this one, right? And we're going to use this assistant right here. We have the prompting in here, and this is just a simple English assistant. So I can copy and paste this. So I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to create another assistant. This will be the French assistant, right? So I'm going to do blank template, create assistant. Let's make this really simple. So this one is going to be, we got the French assistant, and then we got, the next one we want is the English assistant. And then after this, we also want the Spanish assistant. There we go. Cool. So now that we got all of these different assistants in here, the initial one, the French, English, and Spanish. These are all going to have the same end result goal, right? It's going to be essentially booking an appointment into the calendar. So I'm going to paste all this copy into here. And then what we're going to want to do is actually switch the language of the assistant. So let's say French for the example. Deepagram, F, R. We want to do a Canadian French. Let's test out the Canadian one. So we go into here, save that. And then if we want different voices for different languages, we would use Azure, and we use, let's say, a French one. So FR, let's say this one right here. So this is a French voice, and we got the French voice in there. We save that. And the next thing we want to do is the Spanish voice. So right here, or it's ES, I believe, for Spanish. Yep. So ES is Spanish. And then we also want to go to voices. We want Azure. And we want ES. So we got Leah. Looks like this is Spanish voice too. So that's perfect. So now that we have an English voice, I like certain voices on 11 Labs. So let me find one of my favorite voices, which is Dakota. Dakota H. Save that. Cool. And then the initial assistant, if the main language is English, then let's use a good English voice for that. So I'm going to find Jordan as the initial one. Cool. And then this one is the Jordan. There we go. Cool. So now that we got all these different voices, all of this rolling, So we have initial assistant, French. We gotta paste this copy in. Then we got English, and this one. What we're gonna wanna do is actually translate the copy in there, so in the actual prompting, to make sure that it all works properly. So I'm gonna tell Perplexity, translate this information into French and make sure to keep it the exact same. Paste that, enter. And now what it's going to give us is the French version of this. There we go. Sometimes you got to prompt it a little bit differently. So now that it's actually doing this, so we don't want this initial part, because I think it's just telling us like what it is. So if I keep going, yep, it's going through all the different steps. So let's wait for this to load all in, and then cool. So we can use this, copy that. So we want to go to the French assistant, Control A, Control V. Now we have a French prompt in here. Cool. Paste and save. I personally like 4.0 cluster, gives a little bit better results. So switch that. I'm going to switch the same thing for this and for all of them. Cool. Now the Spanish one, we want to do the same thing. Oh. Translate it to Spanish. Cool. So while this is loading, this is essentially kind of the goal. We got to translate everything correctly, and then it's actually that simple. We have the entire squad built out from there. So let's let this all load in. And then we'll have the 3 different languages that we want for this. Oh. Cool. So now we have the rules and the entire prompt built out. There we go. Copy that. Paste. And then publish. Simple as that. So now we have all the different languages, the entire script built out, kind of the system going, good to go, right? So with that, we actually want to go into the squad area, and then we're going to create a new squad. So the first message is the initial assistant. So we're going to use that as the initial one. And then from here, we want to add new agents. Oh, I think I actually
Hey, this is John. Do you speak English, Spanish, or French?
There we go. So we want to add these other agents in here. So French, English, and Spanish. Cool. And then we want to give Vapi the ability to go to every single assistant except for the initial one, because the initial one is useless to go back to. So we want to give it that. Now we want to do the same thing there. And then also the same thing right there. Cool. Now that we have all these routed, we want the French to also go to Spanish. We want also the French to go to English. And same thing for all of these. So Spanish, we want to go to French. And then Spanish, we also want to go to English. Last one is English goes to Spanish. And then English also goes to French. Really simple. So right now, these are all being routed to the different agents, you can see. And then what we want to do is actually change this copy. So if I just scroll down a little bit, you'll be able to see the actual copy of this. So English and Spanish assistant. So this is, for example, the Spanish assistant. So it's going to say, I will transfer you to our Spanish team now. Cool. And then this one's also going to say, we want to tell it like what to do in this scenario. So when the user asks to speak with the Spanish team, right there. So that is the scenario. So Vapi will say, I will transfer you to our Spanish team now, when the user asks to speak with the Spanish team. We can use that same formula for this one too. So English Same thing for this. English. Then we can save that. So I'm going to put this on my other screen right here. So I have that copied. Same thing for this. So let's save that. Then we got to replicate it all for these other ones too. So French, English. Then we got this copied. So this one is the French team. French team. And then this one is also the English team. There we go. Simple as that. And then last one is going to be the English one. So destination, Spanish, French. User wants to speak to the Spanish team. Just like that. Just like that. So that's French team. And this one is going to be Spanish. Simple. So that's allowing us to transfer these assistants all around, but we also need to do the initial assistant so that it knows, hey, I need to transfer these people around too. And for this one, it's going to be all three. So when the user wants to speak with the French team, this one's Spanish team, this one is English team. Cool. And right there, French. This one is Spanish. And English is good to go. Cool. So now we just save this, and this is allowing us to route these squad agents all the way around the entire way. So that is essentially how you build out the actual squad. So once this squad is created, you can use it in a multitude of different ways. One of the main ways is using it as an inbound squad to answer all the phone calls. So let me show you the very, very simple way to actually answer all the phone calls. What you're gonna do is Vapi just added this. You're gonna actually just select the squad. So I need to unselect that, and you're just gonna select that. Now this will answer all the phone calls to this specific number using this squad ID, right? So that's actually the really, really simple way. Now I'm also gonna show you how to make an outbound call using the squads. So this is the really simple way to actually make an outbound call with the squad too. So what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna use this Vapi API /call. You want to make sure it's a post, put your authorization and bearer token in there. With that information, you scroll down a little bit, and you're going to have the squad ID, assistant overrides, phone numbers, different stuff like that. And you're going to want to use this information to actually make the phone calls out, right? So you're going to put in the squad ID, and this field right here is usually assistant ID. You're switching the assistant ID to squad ID, and then you're going to use the ID. So for example, I just put custom data in there. You would normally just use custom fields if you're doing high level or you're doing like make. So for example, a custom field would be like this, right? That's a different custom field. Now in this scenario, I'm just making it simple. I'm not going to throw any of that information in there. So you throw all this stuff in here and it should work perfectly fine. So let's run the module and let's see. We got a result that looks like it was successful. And now I also see a phone call that I'm coming through. So let's see.
This is John. Do you speak English, Spanish, or French?
I speak Spanish.
I will transfer you to our Spanish team now.
Hola.
Hola. ¿Con quién tengo el gusto de hablar?
So just like that was a squad, and it was able to actually make an outbound call and then transfer me to the correct squad agent depending on the actual scenario. So after watching that video, you should have a really good understanding on how to build out a squad that's multilingual so you can actually accustom your bots to the different languages that your customers may need. So if this helped you at all, drop a like and a subscribe, and also join our free school community. You can see it right here. We have tons of value, tons of information, and we're providing free snapshots, free blueprints, and any other information that we can't actually share on YouTube. Not just that, but if you actually need a setup for yourself or for your company, then feel free to book in down below, and I'll meet with you personally to see what we can do to help.